around. He sets and throws, and this ball is caught.
Nebraska is only 2 games away from being bowl eligible, which would be the first time in 7 years now. And it's doable, but every game, I believe every game from here on out, especially with the injuries Nebraska has on the offensive side, is going to be a battle. I don't care who it is. The West, lucky for Nebraska, the rest of their games are all against the West except one, and that's Maryland. And they kind of showed against Illinois that they could be vulnerable, but it really all depends on Nebraska's offense to me. If they had any kind of offense, I really would believe they would win the West. If they still had their top 2 running backs, their top receivers, I would probably give them an edge, because to me their defense is just as good as anybody's, especially in the West. It's probably between them and I'd say Iowa, but I kind of see Iowa and Nebraska about the same, offensively and defensively. But Nebraska's just been devastated on the offensive side. If you haven't noticed, 8 of the 11 players that start on Nebraska's offense is now gone. It's only, I think, 8 of them are underclassmen. So it's a growing time and good experience. And if they could get this experience and as well as get a couple more wins for a bowl, and I think even as a Nebraska fan, that's all you really are hoping for, because to me, Rule's kind of overexceeded already, considering what he's had. The defense has been a shine, and what's really going to be great is how well he's getting play out of his defensive side, even on freshmen and all the new players. You really don't see a letdown when someone comes in. So it's going to be exciting to see this defense grow as the years go on. And if they could kind of work out the offensive side, if we get lucky and everybody comes back that can come back next year, along with Lacey, who's the recruit in 24 that's still committed to Nebraska, who's, to me, and I said it from the beginning, before he committed, he's an outstanding back, and now I think other teams are seeing it as well. So now he's getting a lot of some of the top colleges knocking on his door. But right now he's still solid on Nebraska, but there's a long ways to go between now and when he signs. And then again, who all stays with the transfer portal? It's basically free agency when it comes to now college football. At least in the NFL, they have contracts, so the team gets to lock them in for 3 or 4 years. They don't have that. They're going to have to do something. To me, they're going to have to do something to loosen up. It's too easy to leave if they kind of make it again where, unless you have a real legitimate reason of leaving, and to me, not being able to play or whatever is not a legitimate reason, or you don't like situation. It's going to have to be like a coaching change, family emergency, move back home, something like that. To me, if they ought to go back to, unless it's that, they ought to have to sit out a year. They could still move. They could still hit the transfer portal, but they'd have to sit out a year. So if they've already burnt their red shirt, then that would eliminate any incoming redshirt seniors, and probably eliminate the redshirt juniors, as they wouldn't want to lose another year just to play one more year. But it's possible. So to me, they're going to have to do something. Maybe have to do something with the NIL, come up with something. They can't keep it the way it is. But that's another story. So we're going to talk about Purdue and what's Nebraska's chances of winning this Purdue game. They got to find 2 more wins, and their best chances of 2 more wins might be these next 2 weeks. But Purdue's not going to be a walk in the park. To me, Purdue is a better team than Northwestern, definitely better offensively, and especially on the offensive line. On the defensive side, I probably would give the edge to Northwestern. To me, Northwestern's defense is not that bad. But I do see this game being close and tight, and I think right now this line is 2.5 for Nebraska, which probably tells me if it was in Purdue, it would probably be 3.5 on Purdue's side, because they usually give you 3 points for being at home. And if that's the case, on an even field, they would probably favor Purdue. By half. So what's that saying? And this is going to be a tougher game, you think, because if you guys don't realize, the head coach there, Walker, who came from Illinois, was defensive coordinator, did an outstanding job as a defense coordinator, and he's a defensive mind. He's kind of from the Colorado area. His dad played at Colorado. As a young age, he knew about this rivalry between Colorado and Nebraska. So he hates Nebraska. He hates the color red. This game means more to him. If he get his players fired up to play for him, because this is a passion. This is the game he wants to win. It's not the Ohio State, the Illinois, the Indiana, or anything, or Ohio State. It's Nebraska. He just can't stand Nebraska. It's just the way it is for players that kind of grew up in that era. And I grew up in that era too, but I didn't hate Colorado like they kind of hate us. But then Nebraska was beating them most of the time, so maybe that's why. I guess if you kind of had a rival and every time you turned around they were pounding you, I'd probably hate them too. So I think this team, Purdue team, is going to come in here with a goal and a mindset, and they're going to be ready. And right now, on the defensive side, Walker hasn't gotten the defensive going like he did in Illinois. And a lot of it has to do with personnel. But something's telling me this is going to be a different ball game. And with the struggles Nebraska has, it's going to be tough to get points. The defense is probably going to have to play harder and stronger. And Purdue's a air raid type, throw the ball downfield, so they're never going to be out of in a game. And they've already proven when it comes late in the game, they know how to move the ball. They did against Wisconsin, even though they ended up getting beat pretty good. They did it with them. And they definitely did it against Illinois. There was a tie game at halftime, and then they blew it open in the third quarter. So I think we're going to have to be really prepared for this. And Nebraska is going to be trying to do something they haven't done in 7 years, and that's win 3 games in a row. They haven't won 3 games in a row since their bowl season in 2016. And trust me, if they could pull out 3 wins in a row now, this weekend, then they'll probably be bowl bound as well. I feel like they can edge out at least one more win. Wouldn't surprise me if they pulled out 2 or 3 more wins, but with the offensive the way it is, it's going to be a battle. It's going to be a struggle, and it really worries me. But I think Rule, the good thing about playing the way he does and practicing like we used to back then with Tom Osborne, it's going to pay off. And this is why Tom Osborne did it. It paid off. You know, when he had to go to that backup or even that third string, they were ready to play. They had the reps. Where on most teams, they don't get that. When you're a freshman, you're kind of on the back end. And so I think it's going to pay off. So this is no matter what's going to help Nebraska down the road, help them in the next year and the year after. And I think come next year, you're going to see a vast improvement on this team. But it's going to be a lot tougher schedule as well. Now, Purdue is 2-5. But don't let that 2-5 record fool you, because they've played some tough teams. I mean, they blew out Illinois 44-19. And Nebraska won 27 and probably should have been 44-7, but kept shooting themselves in the foot. They've also faced teams like Wisconsin, Syracuse, Ohio State, as well as Iowa. So they haven't played an easy schedule so far. And like I said before, Purdue's air raid offense, throw it down the field. So it's going to be crucial Nebraska gets pressure on the quarterback, gets after him, and really try to do that with 4 or 5 guys and not really have to bring a blitz, because you're going to need your secondary to be covering. And I think stopping the run's still a key, even though Purdue doesn't do it extremely well, and that's not their forte. They're going to try to run the ball. That's how you keep teams honest. And I think Nebraska needs to throw in some more of that belly G option pass. They're going to have to, even if they give it a shot a couple of times and it don't work out. I mean, hopefully it works out like it did last weekend. You're going to have to do that, and Tom Osborne always did that, because them kind of plays loosen up the defense, because when you run the option, you have to have your safeties involved, because when you run the option, you got to account for everyone, including the quarterback, which means there's not enough personnel without bringing down your safeties to help out. And that option pass is how you loosen up and make them edgy about coming down. And it only takes a split second to bust through that line. And even if he doesn't go to get 5 or 10 yards, 5, 6, 7 yards, because the safety's going to have to kind of expect that pass and kind of hesitate to make sure it is what it is. And the only way to do that is to loosen up by doing it during the game, and preferably do it a couple times in the game. I don't want to do it once to a point where teams now know, oh, they already did it there one time, and now they're hopping out all the way on the run. So it's going to be interesting. Now, their offense is not overly on either side of the ball is doing great. Now, they played a lot tougher teams than Nebraska, but they're ranked 89th in rushing. But Nebraska's ranked, and this is nationally. Well, obviously, it's got to be nationally, 89 teams in the Big Ten. 89th against rushing offense, where Nebraska is 20th. And Nebraska's rush defense, though, is 11th in the country, only giving up now 76.6 yards. So they've actually brought it down from last week, where Purdue's rush defense is 80th in the country, giving up 153.6 rushes per game. So if Nebraska's got a chance, it's to pound that ball, and I'm hoping Anthony Grant gets a shot. I hope Emmett Johnson continues to improve and do what he's done. But I think we're going to need Anthony Grant. I'd love to see what we kind of saw last week, the Emmett Johnson running like he was, and then at the end in that fourth quarter bringing in a fresh Anthony Grant to finish this game off. You got to understand now, we also got 2 or 3 more offensive linemen that haven't started, and I'm kind of excited to see what they have. But the offensive line might be the toughest to learn quickly. That's why you don't see a lot of freshmen playing on the offensive line. It's a big learning curve coming into the college level. But they've gotten their reps, so we're hoping that you'll see. And I think because of that, you're probably going to see Matt Rule and Satterfield probably, I hate saying dumbing it up, but keep it simple for them, and probably see what they got, what they do well, and then probably go with that. Now, on pass offense, Purdue is ranked 63rd in the country in pass. Nebraska is ranked 125th. Not doing well at all. Nebraska's getting 133.7 yards per game, where Purdue's 232. So you can see that's where Purdue's probably going to lean on, and it's going to be crucial. We just have to get to the quarterback. Now, on passing defense, Nebraska's 14th in the country to Purdue's 91st, giving up 241.9. But the difference in that is not much between Nebraska. So there's a, even though it's a big gap in the rankings, it's not a big gap in the yardage. So I really expect Nebraska maybe try a few of the passes, but other than that, I think they're going to probably stick more. And I kind of didn't mind Rule starting off with the passing like he did last week, kind of loosening up, saying, "Hey, we're willing to do this." It would have helped if Harburg was on a little better and made some of them throws early. But maybe they ought to loosen Harburger up and give him some time to get in the game. He's probably really nervous right before the games and all that, and having him do that, which is something you don't really do a whole lot, mainly right off the bat, that might have a lot of factor of why he did the way he did at the beginning. So maybe kind of get it going a little bit on the offensive side, on the run side, on what you normally do, and then maybe throw that in there. So the biggest key to me of this game, and both of them have this issue, and we already know how we have this issue, is turnover margin. Purdue is ranked 75th in the country at a -1, where Nebraska is a -8 at 104th in the country. These are the top two teams in the Big Ten that turn the ball over. Purdue turns the ball over about 2 times a game. Nebraska turns it over almost 3 times a game. Now, I got to admit, most of that was at the beginning of the season, but they're still putting the ball on the carpet. They're still turning it over. They looked terrible last week, gave the ball up, 2 or 3 times, and I know they fumbled 3 times where they got the ball back. So it could easily been a disaster. And just think about it, the defense wouldn't have held them at the beginning. That would have been the difference in the game. This game could have been ugly for the Nebraska right off the bat. So the key is who can protect the ball. It's not going to be a good day. It's supposed to be cold, probably in the 40s, low 40s. Going to be windy, so it's going to probably feel colder. I heard it's going to be rainy, probably so cold rain. So that's going to favor, to me, Nebraska. It's going to be harder to throw the ball in that. It's going to be more on the run. I like Nebraska's defense against the run, against Nebraska's rush offense compared to their rush defense. But the difference why I feel like it's not going to be a walk in the park even about these rankings, you remember Northwestern's rankings was pretty good too against it. It's because they're not scared of Nebraska's pass, so they're going to come down and probably go all out against the rush. So they're going to do better against it. I think if Nebraska keeps it close, defense plays well, they can wear them down, get to the point where they're probably moving the ball later in the game. But I expect Purdue to probably do better than you think against the rush, just because they're not going to be scared of Nebraska's pass. That's why I think it's important Nebraska to get off some of these passes. That's why I didn't mind what Rule did, maybe just the timing of it. But I think they're going to kind of have to play kind of a similar game, and hopefully that Northwestern game kind of showed Purdue, hey, this team can put it up. Maybe that pass to Malachi Coleman, that belly option, pass, maybe that got their eyes open. And with Ryan Walker being an old school Colorado, knowing his dad, he probably knows that play very well. So the key is going to be who could protect the ball and hold on the ball and not make that mistakes turning the ball over the best. Who comes out and gets the better special teams play, punt returns, kick returns, punts, kicks. Nebraska, Travis is looking better. He hit that 47-yarder last week into the wind, right down the middle, but he's still only 4 for 8 in the season. Purdue's kickers are, I think, a combined 3 of 7 or something like that. They're not doing very well either. So to me, it's who does better now on special teams. So to me, it's going to come down who protects the ball better, who gets the better special teams on all aspects as well, that probably wins this game. So how I see this game going, I probably would give the edge slightly to Nebraska. I don't think there's going to be a lot of offense in this game, and I see Nebraska probably winning this game 13-10. And it wouldn't surprise me, maybe 14-10, 13-10, could even be 12-10. I don't think you're going to keep Purdue out of the end zone, and at the secondary, and they don't pressure the quarterback. It even could get nasty for Nebraska. So I don't see a lot of points scored again. It's probably going to be a common factor. I don't know what the over/under is, but if it's definitely above 30, I would take the under, because I just don't see this team. I just don't see this game being more than 30 points, even if it was 17-13. That's 30, maybe 17-14 is 31. But if you definitely get over 30 points, you get 34, 35. You want to take the under if you want that. So, again, if you haven't done it already, please hit that subscribe button and give it a like to try to get this video out. I'd really appreciate that. And if you want to support the channel, just click that thanks button you see right there. Any help you give. It's truly appreciated. And if you want to join and be part of the giveaway of the Husker tickets, I did give away the memorabilia. I given away the autographed Heisman autographed helmet that I'm giving away on November 1st. But Toby Bowles, it won the ticket for Purdue, or the ticket for Maryland, that's in November. And so if he wants to reach out to me, go to the community page. You'll see the email that you can just send me an email. Tell me where you want me to send the ticket to. And you just to go and enjoy the game at Maryland. So Toby Bowles, if I don't hear from Toby here probably in the next week, I'll probably then reach out to Patrick McGill, who is my other Husker loyalty supporter. I only have 2. And so if I don't hear from Toby, I'm going to probably reach out to Patrick and see if he wants to go and get his information. But Toby's the one I actually draw, so I'm going to wait and see if he will respond. So again, I want to thank everybody for their support. And until the next video, go Big Red.